Good morning, student. Welcome to the class. In yesterday's session, we have started the topic sector on the basis of the working condition. We have seen two types of sectors come in this category, that is the organized and unorganized sector. Let's recall this. In organized and unorganized, we have seen that in organized sector, they have some rules and regulation to give employment to the people. They have to register themselves under the government. Then they follow some rules and procedures to appoint the people. So this is the sector which has to follow some rules and regulations made by the government. They have to register themselves under the government. So in this way they work. They get regular salary. They get regular salary, and there is security of job. They get paid leaves, paid holidays. They have fixed working hour, and if they do overtime, they get extra income for that also. And after retirement, they get pension also. So in this way, organized sector works. They have to follow rules and regulations, and there are security of job in the organized sector. And in unorganized sector, it is totally opposite of organized sector. They don't follow any rules and regulation of the government. There is no fixed hour. They have to work for long hours. They get very low wages or less wages. They don't get any leave, paid leaves. And if employer asks to leave them, they have to leave their job. Means there is no security in their job. And even as there is no security of the job, there is no any pension, any paid leaves. So in this way, unorganized sector work. So we have seen this or compare the sector of working condition, that is the organized and inorganized sector. Most of the unorganized sector people, they have to suffer a lot because there were insecurity in their job, especially like the vendors. We have seen in the street, they used to sell various products. Whole day they work, but they don't get proper money for that or income for that. This is the problem they are facing. And even in the service sector, we see this type of problem. Like in IT, those who are educated, they get employment, permanent employment. And in the services like the truck drivers, they get very low income in this type of sector. This is an example of unorganized sector in service. So in this way, people are facing a lot of problem in this sector. They have to sometimes face discrimination also. Like in the rural areas, the SC/ST people, they have to face discrimination also. They don't get a proper job there. And this type of problem are faced by a lot of people in unorganized sector. So it is necessary that the government has to provide some help to help the people of the unorganized sector. Like they have to encourage the education and the skill development so that they can develop their skill, especially in the rural areas. Besides farming, they have to do other type of agriculture, sericulture, beekeeping, this type of farming they can also do other than cultivating crops. So this type of different farming method is also should be encouraged by the government so that it can develop their skill. So in this way they will get benefit in the unorganized sector also. So it is the government who have to help in this sector so that we can protect the people of the unorganized sector. Okay, now let's see the other sectors, that is the on the basis of the ownership. So on the basis of the ownership, we see there are two types of sector. First is public sector and second is private sector. Public sector, these are the sector which is totally owned by the government. Totally owned by the government, and in private sector it is owned by the private individual. Public sector, it is the government who own various assets and who work on the various subjects or in the various area. It is predominant in this type of area like the mining, education, healthcare, power generation. In this certain area, it is the public sector who is predominant. And in the private sector we see mostly in the area of the manufacturing industries. Manufacturing industries, manufacturing of goods, trade, hotels and other services. So in that area it is the private sector which we see as a predominant over that area, like the manufacturing industries. So in this type of area these public sector and private sector work. In second, the public sector has welfare motive. Public sector own various industries and activities. Its main motive is to provide welfare to the people. Its main motive to do something for the people of the country or the the development of the country, and to earn profit is their second motive. First motive is the of the people, and in the private sector its main motive is to earn profit by providing various subjects. That's why we see that in public sector most of the assets which is owned by the public, they provide to the people in a very reasonable rate so that it can be affordable to the common people. And in the private sector most of the goods are high in cost which cannot be affordable by the common people. So this is the difference we see. Public sector they do work for the welfare of the people, and the private sector they want profit. Their main motive is to earn profit. That's why in the third you can see by doing welfare for the people they provide basic services, food, infrastructure, transportation, healthcare. These are the basic services which is provided by the public sector. Education, railway, post office, these are owned by the government. Army, police, all this comes under the services and it is all provided by the government. And the next is private. It provides wide range of services. Manufacturing industries, goods, manufacturing of goods, various type of industries, and also different types of services. It is comes under the private sector. For example, like Tata and Tata Iron and Steel Company, Bajaj, Reliance, Wipro. These are the private institutions. Comes under the private sector, owned by an individual, and they provide lot of services and goods under this sector. So this is the differences between the public and private sector. There are many more things which is the duty or the responsible of the government to provide the people. Even the private sector is also dependent on the government for various things. They cannot own everything. Like, for example, power generation. It cannot be owned by any particular individual or privately. It cannot be owned as it requires lot of cost or investment. So this responsible is taken by the government. It is the government who used to spend lot of money on the production of the electricity, and this electricity is also used by these private sector, means by the various industries, IT centers, even in all the sector, primary, secondary and tertiary. So this is the thing which is owned by the government, and it has been provided to all the sectors of the country, even to the private sector. They cannot afford or own all the things, like various infrastructures development. It is also owned by the public sector, or we can say by the government. Development of roads, railways, transportation, these are comes under the public sector, owned by the government, and these things are provided by the government. Even these infrastructure, development of roads, it is also used by the other sectors like private sector, and by using that they earn their profit. So in this way, it is the role of the government who used to spend lot of on providing basic needs to the people, and it helps all the sectors in their development, even to the private sector. Besides that, government is also protect both the producer and the consumer. As we all know, it is the government who used to buy goods from the farmers in a fair price, and it provides that crop or food to the people in a reasonable price, so that common people can buy that product or buy the food for themselves. So in this way, in this way, government helps a lot of for the development of the people of the country. The basic thing we need, it is the food, food, shelter, clothes, all these are comes under the government. They used to provide in a reasonable range to the common people. Besides that, their other responsibility are that it is the duty of the government to provide basic needs which people want, like we all know first is food. It is the government who used to provide food to the common people in a reasonable rate. Beside that, education and healthcare. As no one, not everyone can afford to take admission in the private schools or get the treatment in the private hospital. So it is the government who provide these basic services, education and healthcare, so that it can affordable to the poor people. And in this way, they help in the development of the people. We need these basic services for our development. Food, education, healthcare, these are the things we need for the development. And there are various things which is also provided by the government to the private sector also, and it helps in their development. And when the people are developing, it helps in the development of the country, of the economy. Even it is the duty of the government to provide some help or to bring some changes so that poverty can be reduced in various areas. And also it is the duty of the government to see the to solve the problem of the malnutrition, high infant mortality rate. In this area, it is the government who is working or providing help to the people, especially to the poor people, common people, so their development can be takes place. And if the common people will develop, it automatically help in the development of the country. So in this way, government helps us lot for our development, even in the development of the other sector, primary, secondary, tertiary, organized and unorganized, and in the private sector also. So this is the sectors of the Indian economy which helps in the development of the country, and all the sectors activities help in producing goods and services which increase the value of the economy and helps in the development of the economy. There are a lot of problems we are facing in our economy. It is necessary that government should introduce various solutions so that these problems can be decreased, like the unemployment, disguised unemployment we are facing, protection to the workers of the unorganized sectors to be needed. And there are various areas still people are not getting basic services or basic needs. So we need that government should expand their ranges so that it can provide basic helps to the people in every areas of the country. So this is the second chapter of economic sectors of the Indian economy. Now I'm going to write some questions. Write it down and try to answer these questions. From tomorrow, we will start the revision. First, we will start the revision of the history chapter. Nationalism in India. Write down these questions. What is intermediate good? Good. Second, what is the full form of Manrega? Three, what is final good? Fourth, which group of activities activities is associated with natural source? Fifth, who is responsible for providing basic services in India? Six, what is GDP? Name the sector of economy that does not produce any goods. Eight, in which sector the terms of employment is regular? Nine, classify the sector on the basis of ownership. 10, write one main provision of Manrega. So these are the questions. Write down the answers. They are very short answer type questions. It can become in a form of multiple choice question. So from tomorrow, ready for the revision. From tomorrow, we will start History, Chapter 2, Nationalism in India. Okay, now listen the answers carefully and check your answers which you have written. What is intermediate goods? Goods which are used as a raw material for the further production is called as intermediate goods, like wheat for the production of flour. Second, what is the full form of Manrega? The full form Mahatma Gandhi National Rural Employment Guarantee Act of 2005. 3. What is final goods? The goods which are finally used by the consumer or reach to the consumer, that is called as final goods. 4. Which group of activities is associated with natural resources? That is the primary activities. Who is responsible for providing basic services in India? That is the government. 6. What is GDP? The total value of goods and services produced within a country in a particular year is called as gross domestic product. 7th, name the sector of economy that does not produce any goods. That is the tertiary sector. It only produces services. It gives services. 8th, in which sector the terms of employment is regular. That is in the organized sector. Classify the sector on the basis of ownership. That is the primary and private and public sector. Write one main provision of Manrega. The one main provision is to provide employment to the people who are needing work for 100 days. That is the main provision of the Manrega. So these are the questions of the chapter 2 of economics, and from tomorrow we will do the revision of the history chapter Nationalism in India. And for today, that's all. Thank you and have a nice day.